Hello everyone, this is Genesis Reset back with another video. And I hope everyone is doing fine today because I am doing great. Listen y'all, this is going to be of a casual conversation. So I want everyone to put on their big boy drawers on or either their big girl panties on because I'm about to show you and tell you what your historians have failed to mention to you as well as what your archaeologists have failed to show you. Now, this is going to be of a historical knowledge that I have discovered, and I am sharing it exclusively with you. So I hope you will appreciate this treasure chest of information to donate. You know, by donating, this will show me as well as yourself that you is not a ear hustler. You know, an ear hustler is someone who is like to take in information, but they never show their gratitude for learning something new. You know, I don't want you to be that person when you look yourself in the mirror. So my Cash App will be in the description as well as on the chalkboard when I get through. So with that being said, let us have some fun to dive in about the history about these people. Now, these people that I'm going to mention was before this great black Green Beret here. These people that I'm going to mention was before this first black Navy SEAL here. What you are looking at is the combined Green Beret and Navy SEAL, the pinnacle of the pinnacle, the top notch, the big kahunas, the big 2x4, the muscles, the biceps, the pit bull, the Rockwellers. Yes, all of that. And that's exactly who you are looking at. The pinnacle, the cream of the cream of the crop, the ultimate warriors of the ultimate. These are people right here with their own hands have held up the Roman emperor and the empire by defeating their ultimate enemy, Hannibal. This is who you are looking at. These people right here, if it wasn't for them, Rome would not have existed. Rome would have failed by the hands of Hannibal. So this is what you are looking at. You are looking at the big dick. Yeah, I said it. The hair of the nuts. This is who they are, who have laid their life down for Rome only to be treated like shit. They treated these men like shit, and so they bounced. Right? And so you want to know who they are? I'm about to tell you who they are. You're about to hear it. You about to hear it right now from me, from Genesis Reset, from people who have lied to you, for the people who have denied you this information, who had $1 million budgets, probably more than that. The Smithsonians, all these people have lied to you just to keep this cover up. But I'm about to open up your ears right now. I'm about to open up your mind right now to the fact that who these people are. These people are none other than the Legionnaires of Africanus, the Legionnaires of Scipio Africanus. That is exactly who you are looking at. You are looking at here the muscle behind them, right? These are the warriors of warriors. And I know what you're saying. You want more. I'm about to give you more. I'm about to give you more, give you the bang for your buck. So without further ado, we're going to read about these people and we're going to get some more information about them, about how all this transpired. So bear with me. I'm about to read this and you can go back and read it for yourself with this article right here. Now, here you have you can look at the credentials of this person down here at the bottom. They have a MA and they also have a BA in history, right? So here it is, Rome's greatest general, who was Scipio Africanus. Now, if you see right here, you see this bust right here, this alleged bust of Scipio Africanus. If you want to believe that this is Scipio Africanus, you got to believe his nemesis on how he looked. Here is Hannibal, right? So if you want to believe these two buses or these two pictures, that this is Hannibal who rode those great big elephants to smash the Roman Empire, then you got to believe that this is Scipio. Now, if you want to believe those two, you got to give us Elvis. All right, that's a little comedy right there, because Elvis, I mean, what, he danced black, he walked black, he sing black, so he got to be black. So we'll take Elvis, and you take these two alleged buses here. So with that being said, with a little bit of humor, let us dive on into some serious stuff here. So let us read about some of the adventures of Scipio. Okay, Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus 236-183 BC had a fascinating life. Scipio's youth was marked by one of the most traumatic events in Roman history, the invasion of Italy by Hannibal Barca, an eyewitness to the massacre at Cannae. He was an eyewitness. So let's look exactly where he was. Let's get rid of that bus here. At Cannae, he was down here. He was a witness that your law, right? He was there witnessing Hannibal doing his destruction in the Roman Empire. Scipio spent years following his nemesis Hannibal in order to eventually outwit the master technician. Let's continue. After he deprived Hannibal of his power base in Spain, Scipio shocked everyone by striking at the heart of Carthage power, Africa. Scipio's victory at the Battle of Zema turned him into a legend, earning him a monarcher or Marquis Africanus. Why would they do that? But it's coming up. His brilliant success, however, brought Scipio his fair share of enemies, including some of the most powerful men in Rome. Instead of being acclaimed for saving Rome from the brink of disaster, Scipio was kicked out of the political arena and spent his last years of his life in his villa in seclusion. Ironically, history also neglected Scipio and his achievement, celebrating the deeds of Hannibal instead. Ain't that about a bitch? He saved Rome, and all of a sudden he's an enemy. What type of shit is that? Like I say, we'll trade this dude, this boss or whatever he is, for Elvis. Let's continue. Scipio Africanus was born Publius Cornelius Scipio around 236 BC. He belonged to the generation of Cornelia, one of the oldest and most prestigious Roman family. Nothing is known about his childhood, but as a member of the Roman elite, young Scipio would have been raised to be a statesman of the Roman Republic and would have entered military training at the early age. This training served him in good stead, allowing Scipio to become one of the greatest generals in Roman history. But yet still, they treated him like dog crap, but we're going to continue. Scipio was only 17 when the Second Punic War broke out in 218 BC. The Carthaginian commander Hannibal Barca shocked Rome by advancing to Italy across the snowy Alpine peaks, traditionally considered impassable. Hannibal shocked the Romans once again when his army soundedly defeated the Roman legions at the Battle of Tinicus. Here, I'll show you that. Here, Tinicus is right up here, up top, by the outset, right up top. Let's continue. During a battle, Consul Publius Cornelius, the Roman army commander, and Scipio's father found themselves surrounded up there, right? Let's continue. It was here that young Scipio distinguished himself for the first time, rallying the troops and charging at the superior enemy to save his father. The enemy fled and Scipio was awarded an oak wreath, which he refused. It was this thing right here, an oak wreath. It was this thing right here that they put on their head. He didn't want this thing on his head, this oak wreath, whatever it's made out of, it all depends on. But he didn't want that. He refused that. Let's continue. Bravery and humility will remain two qualities that Scipio remained throughout his life. Let's continue. Okay. Ticinus was first, hope I'm pronouncing that right, was first in a series of Roman defeats that marks Hannibal's advance through Italy. Roman discipline and logistics were no match for Hannibal's brilliant tactical mind. Hannibal's strategic ambushes and traps doomed legions after legions during 3 years of a bloody conflict. Finally, in 216 BC, Hannibal presided over the greatest military disaster in Roman history. At the Battle of Cannae, around 50,000 Romans perished in a single day of fighting. One of the Roman commanders lost his life, while the other fled the battlefield. According to Livy, he was a historian, Scipio was one of the few surviving high-ranking officers. He displayed great leadership by organizing the greatest group of survivors and leading them to victory, or leading them to safety. For the Romans, Cannae was a horrific defeat. For Scipio, however, the battlefield was a place to learn about Hannibal's tactics and strategies, which he would gradually adapt and employ to save Rome. The same year the Roman military had been crushed at Cannae, Scipio's father, Publius Cornelius, returned to Spain. He believed that Hannibal could not be defeated by traditional strategies. Instead, the Roman army had to strike the enemy's most vulnerable point, its Spanish power base. In 211 BC, however, Scipio's father perished in battle, leaving Rome in disarray. In southern Italy, Hannibal was at large, while in Spain, the bulk of his Carthaginian army kept the Romans at bay. Rome bayed for revenge, but with so many aristocrat lives lost, few were keen to take command. Then young Scipio volunteered. The Senate gave him the position of proconsul, his military authority second only to the consul. Scipio was only 26 years old, unprecedentedly young for such a position, and he arrived in Spain with only modest reinforcement. His legions faced 3 Carthaginian armies led by Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal, each larger than his own. Instead of entrenching his forces, Scipio decided to strike directly at the enemy's heart. Carthio Nova, this place here, right here, down here, this spot right here, this is where it's at. Go back here. He started to strike there at the enemy's heart. Okay. It was the most important, right here, Carthaginian city in Spain. A formidable basin considered to be impregnable. The city was surrounded by a natural lagoon that could be besieged via a narrow isthmus. Crafty Scipio, however, learned from one of the local fishermen that the lagoon could be crossed at low tide. Wading through the shallow waters at nighttime, like a frogman, Navy SEAL, Scipio led a surprise attack against the city and captured it. All right, let's continue. The fall of Carthio Nova shifted the balance in Spain. The Romans now had a safe base for operation, a supply hub, and a supply of military resources. More importantly, Scipio allowed his forces to loot the city, but forbade them from killing or massacre the inhabitants. Here it is. He had a heart. He just wanted the resources, but ain't no sense of killing the inhabitants. Great general. In addition, Scipio returned to the noble hostages the Carthaginians had taken from Spain, most powerful tribes, back to their home. His tactic of clemency and kindness towards the locals portrayed Rome as a liberator and not a conqueror would play a critical role in this war against Carthage. As the Iberian War progressed, local forces kept joining the Roman army. Let's continue on. Over the next 4 years, the Romans fought Carthaginian forces in Spain in a series of battles. In each of these engagements, Scipio employed the tactics he learned from Hannibal. In 208 BC, in the Battle of Baecula, Scipio used his signature pincer maneuver for the first time. Facing the numerically superior enemy, Scipio divided his main forces into two strong wings, which fell upon the Carthaginian flanks. However, he failed to capture the enemy's commander. Defeated Hasdrubal and his remaining troops crossed the Pyrenees, planning to join his brother Hannibal. The Carthaginians arrived in Italy only to be destroyed by the other Roman forces, while Hasdrubal perished in battle. Hannibal's brother is dead. Scipio, now at the upper hand in Spain. Now Scipio had the upper hand in Spain, but Carthage still controlled two powerful armies. In 206 BC, the Roman force, composed around 45,000 men, half of them less disciplined troops, met the combined Carthaginian army at Lipa in southern Spain. The joint hostile force outnumbered the Romans and its commanders. Hannibal's brother Margot and another Hasdrubal felt confident, and another Hasdrubal, he must have two of them, brothers named that way, I guess, felt confident in their victory. However, they underestimated the sharp tactical mind of the Roman general. Instead of employing the usual order of battle with the Roman heavy infantry in the center of the line, the allied auxiliary on his flank, Scipio, did the opposite. His Spanish allies formed the center, bearing the shock of the advance of the heavy armed Carthaginian foot, while the heavy troops were placed on the ends of the line. As they approached the Carthaginian, the well-drilled Roman infantry advanced in a pincer movement, attacking less reliable enemies' wings and crushing their opponent. Only a sudden downpour saved the Carthaginian army from the total annihilation. Pomargo and his Hasdrubal were able to escape, but the Roman victory at Lipa marked the end of the Carthaginian rule in Spain. In 4 years, Scipio removed all Carthaginian forces from Spain throughout. Although he had been outnumbered at every step, the Iberian Peninsula was on the way to becoming an exclusive Roman domain, but the fight was far from over. Let's keep going here. With Spain secure, Scipio returned to Rome, where he received a hero's welcome. Recognized for his achievement in 205 BC, Scipio was granted a consulship despite being too young for the post. He was only 30. He was determined to defeat Hannibal. Scipio proposed a daring plan to the Senate. Instead of confronting Hannibal in southern Italy, he would take the war to Carthage, home ground, Africa. This was a bold and risky plan, and the Senate was unwilling to approve it. In addition, Scipio's growing popularity frightened his political rivals, who considered the young man a threat to the Republic. In the end, Scipio prevailed. The Senate allowed him to use Sicily as a base of operations, yet they only gave him a limited number of troops. The troops was the ones no one else wanted. Ain't that something? The army Scipio received for his African expedition was partly composed of the survival at Cannae, disgraced and demoralized soldiers scorned by their compatriots. So the Senate, like, yeah, you can go, but take these people who fell at the Battle of Cannae. So take these demoralized soldiers. So the Senate didn't even want him to succeed. You know, they were just like gave him some leftover, no fresh bodies or nothing. This is what they did to him. Well, let's continue. But the young general was resolute. In less than a year, he drilled those men to shape. Further, he reminded them that the victory in Africa was their opportunity to redeem themselves. The disgraced veterans thus became the core of Scipio's African army. The rest of the ranks were filled with Italic allies and volunteers. In the summer of 204 BC, Scipio expeditionary forces numbering around 25,000 men landed on the shores of North Africa. A year later, the legions, considered second-rate by the Roman aristocrats, defeated the combined armies of the Carthaginians and the Numidians. Down here, let's fight. Let me see if I can. Right here, they down here fighting at the bottom right here, as you can see. Numidia right here. This is where they're fighting at. Let's continue. Has seized the coastal city of Utica. Utica is right here, right at this end here. They seized that city with his disgruntled men that the aristocrats said they wanted nothing, basically. The removal of the Numidian king Cypher, I hope I'm pronouncing that, shift the power balance as his rival at Messenia joined the Roman side. In one masterful stroke, Carthage lost its most powerful ally, and it was very heart was now threatened by the Roman legions. As Scipio had expected, Carthage was forced to recall Hannibal from Italy. The stage was now set for the finale. In 202 BC, the two greatest generals of their time finally met on the field of battle. Before the battle, two men met in private. Hannibal asked Scipio for peace, but the Roman general refused. The Battle of Zema, right here, down here. The Battle of Zema, down there at the bottom here. This is where they fighting at. The Battle of Zema was a reverse of Cannae. You know, when Hannibal smashed them, this is where he got his soldiers from. Both sides was equally numbered, around 40,000 men strong. The Romans, however, for the first time in the war, commanded the superior Numidian cavalry. Hannibal intended to use his 80 war elephants to shock the Romans. Scipio, however, outplayed the master by opening wide lanes and Roman lines, neutralizing the threat of the fearsome beast who simply rushed through the corridors. Taking the initiative, Scipio ordered Numidians and Roman cavalry to attack the Carthaginian horsemen, protecting Hannibal's flank. Finally, the time arrived for Scipio to execute his signature pincer move around the enemy's troops with his heavy infantry. The survivors of Cannae got an opportunity to avenge their defeat. When Scipio cavalry returned from the chase, it hit the enemy from behind. You know, coming a pincer move. The Carthaginian force collapsed. The apprentice surpassed the master. 20,000 Carthaginians were left dead on the sands of Zema. Realizing that the day is lost, Hannibal fled back to Carthage and urged surrender. The Second Punic War came to an end with Rome triumph. Let's continue. After Zema, Carthage was reduced to an inferior status. It remained all of its African possession. It remained all of its African possession, but it became a client state of Rome. Besides huge war reparation, Carthage was denied the ability to declare war on anyone except in Africa, but with Rome permission. All its warships, its war elephants were taken by Rome, Carthage's most valuable ally. Numidia was now Rome ally, Hannibal's power base. Spain was the Rome domination or dominion. The man who made this possible, the general who defeated the greatest enemy Rome has ever faced, was now known as Scipio Africanus. Only in his 30s, it seemed that Scipio had a bright future ahead of him. He was young, powerful, influential, and wealthy. He was adored by his army and his Roman men, his Roman people, but the Roman system had no place for such a man. Designed to prevent any individual from getting too much power and limit the opportunities available for victorious commanders. The time of Sulla and Caesar was yet to come. Having peaked so young, Scipio had no place left to rise. His entire life, Scipio remained humble. All he did was for the good of the Republic. But that was not enough for the Senate and for Scipio's powerful enemies. Following his second consulship in 194 BC, Scipio Africanus left the political arena. Scipio's last duty to the Republic came in 190 BC when he accompanied his brother on a military campaign against Seleucid king Antiochus III. In a battle of Magnesia, the Roman legions used tactics devised by Scipio and won that day. Interestingly, Antiochus' chief military advisor was no one other than Hannibal. Ain't that something? Following the Roman victory, this once feared general fled the Seleucid court. For the rest of his life, Hannibal would avoid his Roman pursuers, outplaying one last time in 183 BCE, committing suicide by poison. By a strange twist of fate, Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus' destiny mirrored that of his master. The savior of Rome died the same year as Rome's worst enemy. He was only 53 years old. Scipio too died in exile, albeit a self-imposed one, as a pariah, as a pariah of the Republic. Instead of receiving accolades following their triumph in Asia Minor, both Scipio and his brother were accused of taking bribes that they were supposedly received from King Antiochus. And these were the Greeks, some Greeks. Ain't that, boy, I swear, look how they doing this man and his legionnaires. Don't make any sense. According to Livy, Scipio tore up the account books as well as the indictment on the floor of the Senate. Then he reminded his accusers that he was to be tried on the anniversary of the victory in Zema, that he smashed, some of the Carthaginians down there, Carthage. The popular outcry forced his enemy to drop the charges, but the senatorial inquiry continued, further bittering Scipio. Finally, he retired for good and withdrew into the seclusion of his private villa. Scipio, disgust with Roman response to his years of service, was reflected in the epitaph inscribed on his tomb. Ungrateful fatherland, you would not even get my bones. Let that go past. Let me read that again. The epitaph inscribed on his tomb, ungrateful fatherland, you would not even get my bones. He's saying that I'm not going to be buried nowhere around you guys. It was a sad, anticlimactic end for one of Rome's greatest general. Let's continue. Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus was perhaps the greatest Roman general. He was a man who never lost a battle, who defeated the most dangerous enemy of Rome ever faced. From his first battle experience in Tensius, it was clear that the young man was a skilled warrior and talented commander. He proved that over and over again. Scipio broke the spines of the Carthaginians' power in Spain, obtaining for Rome its first territorial outside of Italy. From the demoralized and scorned survivors of Cannae, he made a well-disciplined and trained military that not only challenged the Carthaginians at their home ground, but defeated their greatest war hero, Hannibal, only in his 30s. Only in his 30s, Scipio Africanus gave Rome its greatest triumph and set the stage for a future empire. Scipio action, military and diplomatic, laid the foundation for the Roman expansion into Africa and Asia and their mastery over the Mediterranean. Ironically, Scipio's astounding success was to be undoing. A general who never tasted defeat, a man adorned by both the army, the populace, remained humble, turning away from temptation of personal ambition. This was not enough for his political rivals. Jealousy of his achievement and popularity, they worried that Scipio could take that last step and take the power all from himself. Look at these greedy senators, boy. I don't even know what to say. Embittered by ingratitude shown by the Roman senators, men who never even seen battle. Let me say that again. Embittered by ingratitude shown by the Roman senators, men who have never seen the battlefield, Scipio retired from public life, spending his last years of his incredibly productive life in seclusion. His fall from grace mirrored that of his nemesis and master Hannibal. And in a cruel twist of history, Scipio Africanus, the man who gave Rome its empire, is nowadays overshadowed by Hannibal, the man he defeated and saved Rome. How ironic is that? That is it. Let me go back, because you could see how the treachery of these people were to him. The backbiting of these senators. They destroyed this man's reputation. They didn't like him at all. Ain't no telling what else they did to him, right? But he said here, ungrateful fatherland, you will not even get my bones. His word says it all. He says his word says it all. But let's continue. I'm going to give you some more information. Now, I know you're saying you need more information. I'm going to give you more information. Here we go. I'm going to give you some contemporary type of information here. What you see here is logos, right? You don't see the name of it. And all these hats wear the same. But only thing is different is the logo. You can see here, different cities have their own team. And here you're looking at some of the baseball teams too. They also have football teams. But that's not the importance of it. The importance of it is the identification of it. The logo of it. The marker, the fingerprint of your team here. As you can see here, I'm from Chicago, right? And you can see right there, you have the Cubs. Now notice, the word Cubs is not written, but when you see the logo, you know where that team is from and where do they play at. So that right there is the indication of your team, your logo. You got the Oakland A's. You can see that right there. You notice. How do you notice? Over time. You notice because you've seen this before, right? Now, when you're looking at these statues here, you saw them of the, they call them people the Olmecs, but we know by the identification of their helmets, these are black Romans, right? Here, you can look at some of the identification. You can take your time. This is the Greeks and Roman cavalry helmets here. You can take your time and look. When you see the Legionnaires of Scipio Africanus, you will see the marker of their helmets, the design of their helmets, right? There's no words on there. The words is a design of there. These were black Legionnaires. I'm going to leave some other things in the descriptions as well, right? You look at these helmets, right? And you can take your pick. These are the top designs of the Roman cavalry. You can look at them, all right? Look at them real good. You can tell they are Romans. You can tell they are Greco-Romans because they are interchangeable, right? You see his helmet? His helmet is that of them, but him being who he is, these African Romans, these Legionnaires of Scipio, of course, they're not going to get the flashy type of helmets. You know what I mean? You know, there's a budget, just like how these senators portrayed and done young Scipio, saying you can have basically the leftovers. You know, they want to make, to pull yourself up, with limited resources. This is how the Senate treated Scipio and his Legionnaires. It doesn't take a rocket science to see. Look for yourself. There's no magic trick. I don't have $1 million budget to try to sway you. You can look for yourself. See the cheeks as the other one. You can go back and forth. You can see the helmet, the design, the protections of the face, the opening of the ears, right? For they can hear different designs of the Greco-Roman, of these great warriors that protected Rome, who lived their life to protect Rome, to honor his elite family, all to be treated like dog shit. And so they left and bounced and got the fuck out of there from a grateful ass country. Last but least, I'm gonna leave you one last thing. The cherry on top. Scipio. His meaning, his name. Scipio is a boy. Scipio is a boy, name of Latin meaning scepter or stick. The black stick. Right? He was an African. The African stick. A boy stick. The African boy who saved Rome with his men. The 2x4, the stick, the muscle, all of that essence, whatever you wanted. Just, you can feel it. You can feel it. The ungratefulness of these people. This African boy, this black boy, this Scipio Africanus. They all risked their lives to save Rome. You hear me? Do you hear what I'm saying? Without Rome, you won't even have America. They need to be honored. They need to be I wouldn't say worship, I'm sorry. They need to be honored. And I am giving them you their essence. You have never heard this before. I am telling you who they are. You have seen with your own eyes. The identification is with their helmets. Not only do you see their face, you see their helmets. These are black Roman legionnaires of Scipio, Africanus. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?